I love about tonight? We don't have to look back now. We don't have to just keep looking back. We can start looking forward.
Not going back.
We're not going back.
Hello, everyone. This is JVL. Welcome to The Next Level. I'm here with my best friends, Sarah Longwell and Tim Miller of the Bulwark. We are live from New York and Virginia, and eventually from California and Proposition Land, and also from New Jersey, which is a place I hear is wonderful. And we are going to be doing a show for you live. It'll wind up getting posted onto the Next Level feed for people who weren't able to be with us live later on. So bear with us. It'll be a little bit rougher and more wheels off than normal. Guys, not a big night, a huge night for Democrats, I think. And I would like to start in Virginia, if that is okay with you guys. It was called first. Abigail Spanberger won very big. It looks like right now she's trending towards like 55% vote share. If so, it'd be the biggest vote share for any Democrat in at least 30 years in the gubernatorial race. And Dems look like they're going to have a 56-44 lead in the House of Delegates. Sarah, let's go to you first.
I mean, this is a big victory for the normies. Look, here's the thing about Virginia that I think is super interesting. First of all, every single county in Virginia shifted blue. She is picking people up. And so I think what's happening, we won't know until we get it all in, but as best I can tell, what's really happening is she won all of our people, right? The turnout in Virginia is extremely high, not as high as the presidential year, but it's up there. And so I think she is winning all the Democrats that turn out that are like, the college educated suburban voters, a lot of the Bulwark types, maybe people who weren't Democrats 10 years ago, but they are now. She's won all the normies, but there's also clearly a ton of Youngkin Spanberger voters. And the thing that I was looking at, I don't know if you guys remember this, but I had like a little bit of election night PTSD about Loudoun County. And when you look at her, Loudoun County is the county in Virginia that when it came in on election night 2024, we all said, shit, like this is not.
I was like, was that a mistake? I remember we're texting underneath. I was like,
I was asking my team, they're running me pieces of paper,
counting here,
and I was like, this can't be right. And that was really the beginning of the end, was Loudoun County. She's destroying in Loudoun County. And it's a good, this is, as we're just thinking about this from a nationalized politics standpoint, the idea of running the right people in the right places, like people are going to want, I actually sort of like the fact that Mamdani and Abigail and Mikey are all kind of on the same night, because it allows you to look at what the big tent could really look like, where you run the right people in the right places, right? For the places they're in. Because Virginia is the kind of place that will overwhelmingly reject a MAGA candidate in favor of a normie if you give them a normie that's not some old school like Terry McAuliffe, and that runs a decent campaign.
Yeah. I have a lot of positive to say. I have like a tiny balloon pop on all of the excitement just in. These are all places also that Kamala Harris won, right? So I think that a real big tent of the Democratic Party is going to need to include people kind of even beyond the Zohran to Abigail. I just think that's something for everybody just to think about as far as tonight. This is a relatively, like, the tent needs to be even bigger than Zohran to Spanberger or Cheryl, whichever one you think is more moderate. That said, Spanberger wins, and you mentioned Loudoun. I want to go even further out into the exurbs there, Spotsylvania County. So you get out past, so for people who've been in DC, you kind of get out, either past Dulles Airport or you kind of go the other way, south down towards Richmond, and you get into the real exurbs. Spotsylvania County has not been won by a Republican in decades. Trump won it by, I think, 16.
Sorry, you mean hasn't been won by a Democrat in decades?
Excuse me, thank you. It hasn't been won by a Democrat in decades. My apologies. Trump won by 17 in 2016. For example, Youngkin won by 20 in 2021. Spanberger's won it by 2 tonight. And so I think that tells you a lot. We're going to learn more, I think, in New Jersey about how things looked in the Hispanic areas. But, just kind of looking at one Hispanic precinct in Virginia and Manassas out there by Dulles Airport, that was a place that Trump overperformed. Spanberger's now doing better than Biden or Harris did there. So, I think it's kind of an across the board thing, but it's noteworthy that, there's big turnout in blue areas. And Virginia in some ways is an outlier because of Northern Virginia, the government workers, are there. So that is maybe a little bit different than you'll see in some other states, given the shutdown and Doge and all that. But the fact that she's improving in all of the places, including somewhere like Spotsylvania County, I think is pretty telling. And I guess my other thought about Virginia, maybe it's worth just chopping it up, is in the context of the shutdown. I think the Democrats gained a lot of leverage in the shutdown tonight, right? I think there have been kind of everyone can make an argument. There can be polls, there can be questions about, who is the shutdown hurting, who is it helping. It's kind of hard to make the case if you're the Democrats that your strategy on the shutdown hasn't been working when you run up, Assad-like margins among government employees who are being affected by this in Virginia in an actual election.
Hey, JVL, just real quickly on these numbers, though, just because somebody brought up, Tim, I guess, brought up these are places that Harris won. That is true, but she won by +6 in Virginia. Abigail Spanberger is putting up, it is possible that she is, I had predicted that she'd be up 10, I had kind of stretched it. And then I got to tell you, I promised my team I would take them to Vegas if Spanberger went 13 plus, and Cheryl. And
Vegas,
Cheryl's got to do +7. She's got to do 7+. So we're still waiting on that. I'm not sure she'll hit that, but
6-7.
She might. Yeah. I'm very worried. I made it. I thought I set the numbers high enough that it would be tough to get, but I think we might get there.
Or Sarah's got to go to Vegas. Yeah, no. Abigail Spanberger is doing Gerald Belial.
Oh, AP just called Cheryl
numbers in Virginia. Yeah, no, that's
right. No, I know, but Decision Desk had been the only place that had called it so far. So if the AP called it, the margins are what's going to matter here because it's the kind of blowout. Even Winsome Sears can't claim that election was rigged at a double-digit blowout. She'll try, probably.
She can try. All right, so let's move on to Jersey then. Let's talk a little bit of Jersey. Mikey Sherrill outperforming the polls and Kamala Harris, looking very, very good. I'm a little surprised. I don't want to say hugely surprised. I think when you and I talked about this, Sarah, I'd said anywhere from +3 to +8 would be in the realm of okay, I can see that. She's +15 right now.
Yeah, I will say that's going to narrow.
That is going to narrow, but I don't know, she could wind up +8, +9.
I know I'm going to have to take everyone to Vegas.
That's not a crazy thing. She's hitting, she is just hitting numbers all over. And I did a deep dive on this today in the Triad, and
Triad was very good today.
Thank you. It was very nice of you to point it out. Dog shit numbers. Not that I'm bitter about that, but I was again just looking at raw vote totals. She's going to be much closer to what the Democrats pull in a presidential year in terms of raw numbers. And I don't think she's going to be at the 2017 Chris Murphy margin, which was +15.
Phil Murphy.
Sorry, Phil Murphy, different Murphy.
It's not your state.
They're all the same. When you're in the city looking out to the burbs, like in Connecticut and Jersey, you can tell the Murphys apart. The Dropkick Murphy. Anyway, it's pretty big. And Jack Ciattarelli is not a bad candidate. He's actually a reasonably good fit for New Jersey. He gets the advantage of having run last time. So he is both an incumbent in the sense that a bunch of people just pulled the lever for him 4 years ago, but he's also, the change candidate running against the, incumbent Democratic Party. It's just pretty impressive. And I don't know, I I was very angry at Mikey Sherrill for not simply telling voters the real truth about the world, which is that New Jersey has always been an expensive state. It's always going to be an expensive state. And they should just shut their traps and be grateful for it because New Jersey is so great. And I mean, I guess this is why I don't run political campaigns.
You would be such a bad politician.
Seems like
just
Mikey.
So bad at it. Like,
can you imagine?
Seems like Mikey's instinct was right on that. I just wanted to on the Hispanic stuff. I just look if you look at Passaic County, which is the highest share of Latinos in the state. That's the inverse of what I was talking about in Virginia. This was a traditionally Democratic county, obviously Latino county. Democrats have won forever, and had flipped to Trump for the first time and forever. This last time, Trump won it by a couple points. Right now, Mikey is winning Passaic County by 20.
Yeah.
The little Nate Cohn mini needle estimate is that she's going to end up winning it by 10. Whatever. I know anywhere between 10 and 20, and that's a huge shift among Hispanic voters, in particular. And I just think that that speaks obviously to immigration, also
we'll
economy.
see. So here's what I would tell people to look at. I've been trying to follow the returns in Union City. Union City is in Hudson County. It's like right on the other side of the bridge. It's like 86% Hispanic. So huge concentration of Hispanics. And here is the Trump vote share over his 3 elections. In 2016, he got 19% of the vote in Union City. Then in 2020, he got 28%. In 2024, he got 41%. So he gains 22% over the course of his 3 runs. I will be...
They liked what they saw.
I will be very interested, especially looking at Will Salatan. I don't know if you guys saw Will when he was on, but he's been deep in the exit polls. And I think in New Jersey... I'm pretty sure the New Jersey exits, it's like 53% of respondents said, according to the early exits, Trump's immigration stuff has gone too far. I will be interesting to see what that does to the Trump share in Union City and to see if that pushes him back towards his 2020 number, maybe even closer to his 2016 number. That'll be pretty interesting.
I don't want to, sorry to go back to Virginia for just one second, but if we can.
That's okay.
We're vibing.
We're doing it live.
Yeah, we're doing it live. So we talked about obviously top of the ticket, Spanberger's heading for a blowout, such a big blowout that she appears to be pulling Jay Jones well over the line, which was one of the big questions was, would he?
Jay Jones might outperform Kamala Harris.
He might. That is the, like that. And I think those are the kinds of nuggets that are going to speak to how big this was. And the Jay Jones thing to me is really interesting. So we had done a Virginia focus group episode. We talked to a lot of ticket splitters. And I there clearly are a lot of ticket splitters. Like he's going to run well behind Spanberger. But I do think it speaks to the level of anger among Democrats, not just where they said, I'm voting blue all the way down, but also where they said, and I'm not endorsing this, I'm just telling you what I think voters said, is that they're like, you know what? I am tired of us trying to police our own side when the right does zero of that. Like I hear this in the focus groups all day long. Like they're basically like, I will not, these moral lines that you, Sarah, would like people to draw still. Like we're done drawing them. We're not going to weaken ourselves. And I think that is, I think temperamentally, you are starting to see a shift in voters saying like, I'm blue no matter who. No, you don't think so?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I think you can overstate that. Let's pull it up right now. I mean, Spanberger's up 13, and what? He's up like 4, 5, and so she's running way ahead of him, and she ran way ahead of him, and particularly in the northern part of the state. So there was a decent. I mean, in this day and age,
a lot of ticket splitters.
Any ticket splitting is a pretty big deal. Yeah. So it's not nothing. I hear you though. I mean, look, I think that partisan in this moment, all of us are so driven by negative partisanship, and the degree to which people are driven by negative partisanship means that they're going to be motivated by the dislike of the other side, right? More than judging on their side. And right now, just I've pulled up here, so it's 12.5 basically for Spanberger to 4 for Jones. So a decent
I guess for me, I would say that in a different world, in the pre-Trump era, that would have been race ending. Like those texts come out and they're
Right.
like, no way. And this time they basically like, you know what? No, we're going to muscle it through for better or worse because we think our voters are going to be there anyway, like enough of them. And
Yeah.
I think before this, I might have been like, I don't know, guys. People still care about this stuff. We heard from a lot of voters who do. So I believe that those voters exist in real numbers. I just think there are enough people now who are like, all bets are off.
I mean, I'm sure that'll end well for the country. Very quickly, Chris LaCivita coming in hot, tweeting out, a bad candidate and bad campaign have consequences. The Virginia governor's race is example number 1. So I guess he's not going to say it's stolen. Got that going for him.
Well, he would know. He received about $1 million from the Albanian fascist party, the New York Times reported today. So he knows about a strong candidate.
He
versus a
and
weak
Tony
candidate. He's doing
Fabrizio,
pretty well
there's no
himself.
scumbags these guys won't work for.
All right, Mamdani. The most interesting thing to me about this race is that they're now over 2 million votes. Biggest turnout in New York City mayoral election since 1969. That's pretty impressive because this wasn't like a super tight race. Like he just, I don't know, like the dude got people excited in a way that's real. Like that's really real. That's pretty interesting. I don't think he plays anywhere outside of New York City, but it does show a template for like just super forward looking, not negative, be young.
It's anti-establishment, though.
It is.
Look, here's the thing. Here's the thing about the Zohran. I'll be interested to see how he frames it tonight in his victory speech and how he frames himself, because everybody wants to try to frame him for themselves. But like the Democrats need to figure out how to engage voters who are not engaged in politics. Barack Obama did that, and no Democrat has done it since.
Yep.
And Trump did it.
If you look at yeah, right. That's what to say. If you look at the vote cast, this is the thing that people do not understand. I'm just going to repeat it till I'm blue in the face. If we had mandatory voting in this country, Trump would have won by a lot more. Like a lot more. Like not like close. Like out of the people who didn't vote, they were extremely Trumpy. So how can Democrats do better with those people and reach those people either via persuasion or by taking the ones that would have voted for Harris and getting them out? And Mamdani figured out how to do it, in part by being deeply anti-establishment. In part, I do not think that, I sometimes like some of the Mamdani supporters got mad when they're like, why did everybody ask him about Israel all the time? It's like, he brought it up all the time. He chose to bring it up a lot, and it helped him a lot. And obviously there's some blowback among Jewish voters in certain parts of the state as well. It cut both ways, but there was a big group of people who were not engaged in the last election, who care about the plight of Palestinians, who he excited. So that's one element. Optimism is one. Social media is one. Like there are a lot of different elements, and I think that some Democrats will be able to take from some and some from others, but it cannot be a status. The one thing that is definitely true is if you're going to engage those people, you cannot be a status quo politician, and you just can't blow. There's no sense not just acknowledging the reality of the fact that he engaged a lot of people with that combination of tactics.
Yeah. Can I just say also on Mamdani, the thing that he did is he focused on affordability. I mean, he was like, the rent is too damn high guy, but like for serious. And he really did focus on the idea that the city is too expensive.
The rent is too damn high guy was great. He's serious. I was like, I've been saying for years, more people should be copying him.
Okay.
That dude was a visionary.
Yeah, that guy knows what people were feeling. And this is the thing Mamdani did. I think sometimes when people say social media, it's easy to be like, okay, well, he made TikToks or whatever. That's not what he did. I mean, that is what he did. But he went around the city and talked to people and filmed himself talking to people. And people see themselves reflected back in the people that he was listening to. And the fact people feeling heard right now in this moment, I sound a little bit like a lib when I did, but like people did want to feel heard. They wanted somebody that showed up. And so like,
Big space.
yeah, there's and this is somebody in the chat said something like the Bulwark talking heads, which I guess they mean us, needs to understand that the DSA is the future of the anti-Trump coalition.
Maybe.
I don't think that's the takeaway from tonight. I think the takeaway is that if you run Democrats that fit the state well, okay, Zohran Mamdani doesn't play well in the rest of the country. I don't think it's the future of the Democratic Party writ large. If Zohran Mamdani had run in Virginia, he would have gotten against Winsome Earl Sears. Actually, it might have been tight.
I think one.
It might have been tight, actually.
I think he would have won. I think he would have
but like you want a 13-point blowout.
The point's taken.
Yeah, but the point stands. And I think actually the way that people should think about this, and Democrats, I want people to think about a world in which maybe you put aside the idea that the thing we have to wrestle with is a constant Dems need to be more moderate or Dems need to be more progressive. Maybe just drop that rope for a second and think Democrats need to nominate people that work in those states. In Virginia and in New Jersey, it was going to be people who were kind of normie Dems. I mean, you want to do some pundit accountability? I think we gave them a little bit of a hard time, as much as I like both of them, for running kind of vanilla-ish campaigns, just things that weren't that exciting.
I copped to that.
Yeah, right. No, you did. And I'm going to cop to it too. The fact is that was clearly right for those states. You said, Tim, you aren't going to cop to that?
I'm not going to cop to it because I think my take at the time was this is probably right for winning the states.
That's exactly what you said. You were right.
I usually would have said it. I was like, this is about my emotional needs. And my emotional needs is I need a normie Dem that has some riz. And so, but yeah. No,
but think about it more in this is what it could look like to fashion a coalition that is a big tent that includes all these different types of Democrats that run in places where they can win. And that I actually think, the same, it's less progressive and moderate and more like either aggressive or talking to people about the issues that, like, I just listened to Abigail Spanberger's acceptance speech. She was all over the energy prices stuff. And that just came up all across the focus groups. They're building these big data centers. It's sending everybody's electricity bills through. And she was like, those are big job creators in these states. In fact, they're basically propping up our economy right now. But
people are going to be thrilled when the AI bubble bursts. Their electric bills go down and their 401ks are cut in half.
That's true. But basically she's saying we're going to make them pay for more of the electricity in the state. Like they're not going to get to drive up and that's a winner in these states. So I do feel like people should start shifting and widening the aperture of the conversation to how do you find the right people for all these places?
Can I actually change the conversation from that to our wheelhouse, which is Trump derangement and Trump attacks? Because I kind of want to make a broader point. I'm sorry, JVL, can I make my point, or do you want to
go ahead? I was going to say that I would like to move away from talking about good things happening for America and to talking about bad things happening to bad people.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not ready for that yet.
Okay.
I just think that there's going to be a desire by people who are really, have a dog in the fight of whether the Democrats become the DSA in the future or become the party of deep state spooks who are center left moderates like Abigail Spanberger, to like try to fashion the results one way or the other. And like the reality is, this is what we've actually learned tonight, is that again, the Democratic coalition is different now, and they do well in off-year elections. Like on top of that, we learned in New York that Zohran was able to engage some new folks, which that's already stated and acknowledged. But what we've really learned is that like the Donald Trump is in doo-doo. And I think that he's coming up on a crisis about whether he is a lame duck or not.
Let me prompt you here, Timothy.
Okay, great. I would love to be prompted. I love being prompted.
My friend Eric Erickson just tweeted out 1 hour ago. Lame duck status is going to come even faster now. Trump cannot turn out the vote unless he is on the ballot, and that is never happening again. I'm Ron Burgundy.
Okay, see, that was a bad prompt.
That's not where we wanted to go.
I have some stuff to get.
I thought you wanted to talk about the lame duckness.
No, I was talking about the lame duckness in the context of the fact that Trump's focus on his fancy ballroom and his imaginary peace prize and bombing boats in the Caribbean and the masked guys deporting people. He isn't focused on the shit. Oh, and I guess the immigration thing is somewhat backfiring if you look at the Hispanic numbers that we're seeing, at least indications early in these results. But like the economy, the economic situation is not good unless you are heavily invested in the market, and that's where most of your income is coming from. And then you've had to find 10 months. But like other than that, or if you're an AI VC bro, or if you're in the private prison industries, or if you're in crypto, those guys, that crew is all crushing. Regular people are not. And prices have not gotten cheaper. They've gotten more expensive. The economy is rickety. Jobless rates is up, not a ton, but it's up. And people are feeling insecure about their economic status, and they thought that the magic fake businessman was going to fix it, and he hasn't. And like that, and the reality is, this is why the joke about Zohran could have run in Virginia. Like the reality is that the Democrats could have run a tomato can who's a moderate, or a tomato can that's a socialist in these states tonight, and they would have won. Not by as much, might have changed.
I don't think they
bit,
could have run
on
a
the flavor of
socialist in New
tomatoes.
Jersey.
A socialist tomato can? I'm pretty sure they could have, based on the polls. But whatever. Point being, they could have run some pretty lefty type people, or some pretty whatever. And I think that the real result of tonight, the lesson is that like Donald Trump is weak, and he is not riding on a massive mandate of support. And there was not like some permanent shift to him, and people have not accepted the great MAGA future. So there you go. There's my positivity.
And that is good positivity, because here's the thing. Here's what happened tonight is that it put a stop to the momentum that Trump was trying to keep going with the idea that he won a massive mandate. Everybody thought he had the best numbers. That tide is going to turn. He cannot keep this going now. This is a very important, people are going to try to say like, I tell you what, you're going to hear from the Fox News, the right-wing pundits, what they're going to say, this doesn't matter that much, whatever. No, this matters a great deal. This is the beginning of a turning point. And I think when you look at these numbers and you put them in the context of 2026, if you're able to extrapolate them out, and if the economy doesn't get better in the next year, I don't know if you saw this, but Trump came out recently and apparently someone has whispered to him, hey, the economy is actually not doing that great. And so he said, oh, in January, I'm really going to focus on it. In January, he'll start focusing on it. So I can't wait for that. See what he's got up his sleeve. But the thing that Eric said, actually, Eric Erickson, son of Eric, that I would like to wrestle with is not the JVL derangement 2028 stuff, but this idea of
why do you guys assume that's what I meant? What I meant was that we are accelerating into a schism over Trump as the future of the party. And I think that the Erickson tweet plus Marjorie Taylor Greene on The View today, plus the Tucker Carlson Heritage Nick Fuentes feud, looks like a big crack up.
It does look like a big
That's what I was trying to say. I was not trying to be
the Iran Burgundy thing made me think that you
just
were
trying to make a funny.
Democracy is over.
Just trying to make a funny.
If him being a lame duck is bad, actually, because then he will.
But let's take that point.
I thought that's where you were going.
The point, not exactly that he's definitely going to run in 2028, but what happens when Trump's not on the ballot for Republicans? What happens? I mean, the thing that I think
JD Vance is a ball of charisma.
Yeah, I know that Trump has floated the JD Vance and Marco Rubio ticket. The Republicans have a genuine problem of what happens when Trump is not on the ticket. This has happened in every off-year election for Republicans. The massive amount of drop-off that occurs from people who are low propensity voters who vote just for Trump, the only Trump voters. I remember when I was at the Deal Book Summit with Kevin McCarthy, and he was bragging about how Trump was this turnout machine and everything else. And I was like, Kevin, they hate you. And Donald Trump taught them to hate the Republican Party. And when Trump's not there anymore, a whole bunch of people who are just red-pilled for Trump, they're not there anymore. And so this is where I think part of the reason you do get the 2028 talk from Republicans is they do not have a plan B. And nights like this freak them out about the future of what they can do without Trump.
Don't disagree with any of that.
Okay, great.
Do you think it makes them eager to try to move him out, though, so they can start figuring out their post-Trump plan?
I hope not. So something that I've sort of started to think
That
about.
is the thing, right? The unsaid thing is that nobody in Republican world can make moves on running for president until Trump says that he won't run for president.
It's a real problem for
Right?
them. This is I agree with you that this is a genuine problem, because the longer they have to entertain Trump as the leader of the party, that is time that's being chewed up of them not being able to figure out what an alternative looks like. Not just an alternative to like Trump the man, but also like, oh no, for a decade, we've only been about a person. We've lost the muscle memory around policy making in an affirmative way. We don't know what we stand for. Do we stand for tariffs still without Trump? What's our foreign policy without Trump? Right? The Congress no longer does anything on the Republican side. So what do you do when Trump's not there? And you know what I love about tonight? It's time for us to, we don't have to look back now. We don't have to just keep looking back. We can start looking forward.
Not going back.
We're not going back. Don't give Tim PTSD. But I just, here's the thing. The margins were really going to matter tonight. Just the margins and the size of them. Like we knew Abigail was going to win in Virginia. There was no,
Cheryl's now up by 14.
I still think they don't, the same.
She got 75% of the votes in, and she's up by 14.
Is that where they are right now? Hold on. I got to pull this up. Because I think what's happening is they counted the mail first, right? Or is it all mail in New Jersey?
No,
they're gonna. They have same day.
I've been told.
Yeah, sure. You don't know because you don't live there.
It's not all mail.
When it comes in, so when I think the same day numbers are going to come in last, and I assume that'll tighten it. But if they've got 75% in right now, can anybody see, sorry to do this in real time, but can anybody see what the vote totals are? Because when I was tracking in New Jersey, it looked like turnout was lower there. Like they weren't seeing the kind of turnout that they were seeing in Virginia.
I'll tell you what it is right now. She's at 1.4 million already with 75% of the vote counted. And I'm just looking back. Murphy got 1.3 million in 2021 and 1.2 million in 2017.
Harris
got 2.2 million. So she's not going to get there, but she's going to get more votes than any gubernatorial candidate in a long time.
Oh, I am going to have to take these guys to Vegas.
Yeah, you are.
You're going to take them to Vegas. Vegas, baby. Hit that craps table.
But you know what? That trip pays for itself. Honestly.
It does. That's true.
We'll get. You make it all back.
Yeah.
I want to come back to the Republican crack up stuff, JV, unless you want to do it first. I do want to talk a little about midterms and redistricting and what the impact is on that. So should we do that first, or do you want to do Tucker versus Ben Shapiro first?
Why don't we talk about that? Because we'll have a little Prop 50 talk towards the end. Because that's the funny thing in all this.
Talk about redistricting in Virginia.
Important thing is Prop 50. Yeah. Well, that becomes more likely if Prop 50 passes.
It's going to pass.
Right. Yeah, it's just going to.
Yeah, it's going to. I assume so, but
it's going to. And I got to say, Abigail Spanberger in her acceptance speech, which was really excellent, she talks about, she was very like, I'm going to be the governor for all people. I represent you too. It was very gracious, and I liked it very much. It speaks to my heart. But then I was like, Abigail Spanberger is going to redistrict the shit out of Virginia. That's coming. She's talking.
Sit upon a throne made of the skulls of her enemies.
That's right. And you know what?
But in a very nice, respectful, and inclusive way.
I don't know, but I just saw that Kansas didn't make it. They weren't able to get there on doing the Republican redistricting that they wanted to do in that state. And so when all of this washes out, I'm not sure Republicans are going to feel great about the fact that they decided to do this cycle redistricting. I'm not sure. I'm not sure at the end it doesn't kind of net out closer to a wash.
Well, especially if maybe there's a wave and some of those Texas districts that they thought would be basically safe don't wind up safe, right? Like, Texas goes to carve itself out an additional 5, but instead they actually only net out 3 because they lose some of the marginal ones, right? I mean, that a boy can dream. All right, so can we talk about the Republican Civil War that'll start, I don't know, hopefully tomorrow?
Sure. And I think that
we haven't been together since the Tucker Nick Fuentes thing happened.
Yeah, I was just treating myself this afternoon to a lot of the video. The Ben Shapiro monologue, which was very long. That was not a treat. Listening to Ben Shapiro at 2.0 speed is a real adventure. That's not something I'd recommend doing on Soul out of office gummies because it's hard to follow. But I did my best, and I was watching the response to it from Candace, from others, and man, they it's interesting. And I also watched MTG on The View today, and there's a real fundamental schism that is happening, and that is an actual threat. And I'm not doing the the end is near for Trump thing, but I think that there was a lot of hope that being able to continue to peel off the college-educated Wall Street Journal, and how much time we spent talking about these people, like the college-educated Republicans, middle to high income, socially moderate types, getting to peel them out of the coalition. And that happened. A bunch of those people voted for Mikey Sherrill and Abigail Spanberger today. And it just wasn't enough to beat Donald Trump in 2024. The real threat to that coalition has always been a crack up within the populist side, right? That's always been the actual threat, because that's where the numbers are. There are only so many people that we're going to leave from the moderate side. The bulk of the coalition is white working class people. So where are the potential fracture points there? Sarah's really hopeful that Epstein is one of them. I'm less hopeful, but potentially that's certainly something they've all been talking about. Economics, working class economics, healthcare benefits, maybe, we don't know whether that's something, but potentially that's something, right? Where a lot of these voters aren't going to be thrilled, about getting hung out to dry while, the AI VC guys, get welcomed to the gilded ballroom and they're losing their healthcare and their SNAP benefits. Potentially that could be an area of concern. Foreign policy, Israel. Obviously, there's an anti-Semitism subplot to this, but but there are definitely some anti-Semites
in on the right
that group. Yeah, I know there are, and so you basically see all 3 of those coming together via Marjorie, Tucker, Candace, Fuentes to varying degrees, right? And it's a real threat. And Donald Trump, for the first time, finds himself kind of on their side of the responsible. When Ben Shapiro is coming to your defense and the National Review guys are coming to your defense, that to me signals that you might be on the losing side of the battle. Because historically, all the crack ups, it was the traditional conservatives on one side, and Trump was on the side with Tucker and Marjorie and Candace and the people that have all the energy. And now Trump has gotten moved to the losing side. At least historically. I don't know whether that'll be true in the future. And that to me is intriguing.
We're going to unpack this some more, but first we have to, I'm sorry, guys. We are contractually obligated to do a single ad.
I got you. Guys,
thank you.
This show is sponsored by ZBiotics. I have to tell you about this game-changing product I use before a night out with drinks. It is called Pre-Alcohol. I made all my guys drink it before they started drinking tonight in celebration because I need them sharp tomorrow morning. And ZBiotics is the pre-alcohol probiotic drink. It's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's a buildup of this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for rough days after drinking. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make pre-alcohol your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Make the most of every toast, tailgate, and touchdown this holiday season, as well as every celebratory election night. Don't forget to bring pre-alcohol along for the ride. This is really useful for me on the rare occasion when I have more than one drink. My producer wrote that for me. And it's especially useful because I have a shop full of 20-somethings with lively social lives, so I need to come into work sharp. Go to zbiotics.com/nextlevel to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use Next Level at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/nextlevel and use the code NEXTLEVEL at checkout for 15% off. Thanks, ZBiotics.
Sarah, do you think ZBiotics could ship an entire pallet's worth of their stuff and just have it waiting at the hotel in Vegas for when you get out there with your team?
I think we're going to need it. Okay, are we still unpacking the crazy crack up?
Can I just give you one fun precinct though, just for kicks, so we can all have a good laugh? This is in Edison, New Jersey. It's a highly South Asian immigrant precinct.
That's true.
Donald Trump got 342 votes there. Jack Schittarelli got 22.
Huh. It's a little fall off.
Trump won by 30. Cheryl won by 76. So the immigrant communities, the highly immigrant communities, maybe did an oopsie in 2024, but are coming back around.
I mean,
feels
could possibly
like,
have warned
and we welcome them into the tent.
Speaking of people who always thought that the alligator would never eat them,
thank you.
Mark Levin.
Oh wait, what did he
now
say?
very, very upset. So, well, no, it's just all part of the MAGA thing. So like Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin is up there ranting about how, oh, Tucker's not MAGA. These people aren't MAGA. And this is a thing. John Gans over one of my buddies on Substack has a great piece about this today. And these guys have been tolerated by MAGA, but I don't know. It seems like the future is griper to me. Am I wrong?
I think this is like when the inmates take over the asylum situation. And here's the point I want to make about Ben Shapiro, because Ben Shapiro did a very viral, very long, very good rant about who should not be welcome in the Republican coalition. The only problem is, and normally, I try when people do the right thing to say, that's good, they're doing the right thing. We want people to move in this direction. That's good. But
the good wolf, Sarah. Feed it.
I cannot help but point out that one of the biggest, most grotesque anti-Semites is Candace Owens, who that guy, Ben Shapiro, hired, helped make famous. And it's an example, Fox News and everybody else who has, let's call it, platformed, welcomed, given, helped build followings for all of these crazy people, only to find out that now Laura Loomer is the only person with access to the Pentagon. Okay. And so the fact is, the normie-ish guys who made peace with Trump to keep their audiences on side, which is exactly what they did, right? All the National Review types, everybody, all of them suddenly saying, oh my goodness, is there gambling going on in this establishment? Are there anti-Semites among us? I can't believe it. This is the kind of thing that one of the things I reshared on Twitter, because when this whole thing popped off, I will never forget the day that Scott Jennings and I were on the panel on CNN, and this jackass is going, anti-Semitism is only a problem on the left. He was hammering this. It's a left-wing problem. It only exists on the left. And this was when the campus protests were happening. And I said, Donald Trump just had Kanye West and Nick Fuentes to Mar-a-Lago. And it's funny because in the clip, I hit him on it and make him say yes, that was wrong. But then he was like, what's one stupid dinner? The idea that it didn't matter to him, that the president of the United States, because Donald Trump was sanctioning these people by having them at Mar-a-Lago. Why do you think people thought they were an acceptable part of the coalition? And what makes me crazy about the anti-antis now suddenly saying, oh my gosh, there are anti-Semites. these people will not say Trump's name. It's just like when Pam Bondi did the whole hate speech thing and they all came down on her like a ton of bricks. How can she be so stupid? And at the same time, Donald Trump is standing there with reporters being like, they say hate speech against me, so I'm going to have them banned. And everybody's like, Donald Trump, Mike Johnson, I didn't hear what he said. What could he have possibly have said? Say his name, people. Admit that the guy you signed up with, Ben Shapiro, the fundraiser that you held for him, say his name. Say that he did this and that you helped him. Every single one of you rolled out the red carpet for the people who are now taking over the party. We told you it was happening. You told us we had Trump derangement syndrome, but we were right, and now they're going to take your jobs.
What's weird about this, though, is that, like, most of the, like Ben, like Mark Levin, like a lot of National Review, these people were all late on Trump. Like, they were anti-Trump to begin with, while the Fuenteses and the anti-Semites, those guys were with Trump first, right? Like, the Fuentes part of the world, the Groypers, all, they were early on Trump, while all of these people who are now trying to kick them out of the party were all anti-Trump. And it's like,
which is part of the reason why they're from the weaker position.
Right.
And this is the thing at the Ben Shapiro thing, which is like, okay, it's just worth saying, objectively, it's good that he's doing it.
Great.
Because there's a lot of power on the other side of the far right, and it's like better to fight those, the racist Nazis than to join them, I guess. But it is like, not only was Ben and all of them never Trump originally, Ben wrote in 2015. Ben got kicked out of Breitbart. The whole reason the Daily Wire exists is because Ben was writing for Breitbart that that Donald Trump was enabling the rise of the alt-right and these anti-Semitic online voices, and they were rallying to Trump, and that was bad, and the conservative movement should not abide this. And he got ran out of Breitbart on a rail because they were like, "You're a heretic," and they said a lot nastier things about him. And then he went out on his own on the Daily Wire, and then he hired Candace Owens and did a fundraiser for Donald Trump. So it's like, you built this. Like, you made this. You made your bed. Here, you saw it. Like, it's not as if this was surprising to you. I mean, some of us, like, again, we've done our mea culpas, but it's just sort of saying, like, some of us were like, I assume these guys were like a crazy little, 20%, 10% of the party. I didn't realize how strong it was. Once I saw it, I said, no, I'm out of this party, and I was going for good. Like, Ben Shapiro is like, I saw clearly that Donald Trump was cultivating a rise in alt-right, racist, far-right nationalists within the party. I'm going to speak out against it. And then after that, being like, well, he won, so oopsie daisies, maybe I'll just be a part of it now. And then 8 years later, he wants to be like, who brought the racists to the party? And it's just like, come on, man. You did.
100%. Number two, the thing about so many of these people, when you say they came late to Trump, what I cannot get over is that when they came to Trump, including Ben Shapiro, it was post trying to overturn an election. You think if you lay down with the dogs who do election denialism, who lie to these people, who put up all these candidates in 2022, where the only litmus test was to say that you two believed that the election was stolen, you don't think you're going to get fleas from that guy? You don't think the people he's drawing into the party are the kind of people who hate you, Ben Shapiro? Because that's what happened. That's what happened. You changed your mind after you saw this guy overturn an election. And then you decided, now's when I'm going to get on board. And you got there just in time for people to decide that Trump isn't taking it far enough and that you represent the establishment and that they're coming for you.
All right. I want to ask some analysis. How do you think this
Ranting not working for
war ends? No, I love it. Believe me, I love it so hard.
Analysis. Ben Shapiro, douche.
Forward looking.
You made this your bed.
How do you think this ends? Like, is Megyn Kelly able to maintain the, like, I'm just not going to talk about it stance? Is Mark Levin going to be able to maintain the this isn't real MAGA? Real MAGA is pro-Israel MAGA. Like, what? Can it all
Here's
hang
how this
together?
ties tonight. I don't want to pretend to know like what 2028 holds. But here are the things I
Of
think
the
we
next
know
6
now
months.
that are new. Yeah, so here are things we know now that are new. The dogs are a little bit more loose. I think that there was a period of time Trump came in, he won all the states. People were surprised by the scope of his victory. Most people, even if they'd expected that he was going to win, he put in all these crazies in the cabinet. They're like, whoa, this is like the id of the party. Like, you can't speak out against him right now. I think like increasingly, tonight's results tied with this recent, Tucker versus Shapiro crack up and Marjorie Taylor Greene being out there. I think there's going to be some more toe dipping in the water of where can we get some distance from him? How can we start to look around corners? It's not going to be, they're not going to be, writing op-eds for the Bulwark anytime soon. Like, I don't
Except for
think that everybody
MTG.
can just,
Marjorie will.
everybody can keep their expectations in check. But I just think that this marks the point where people start to test the waters a little bit about where can I get some distance from this, and particularly on the populist right, that kind of crowd. I think that's one thing. And the other thing that I just thought of earlier today is, I mean, I think that the notion that like you're in clean handoff territory from Trump to JD feels very sketchy right now. And I think that is something that would be a development.
Handoff.
Trump to Trump.
Trump to John Jr. It has to be dynastic, right?
John Jr. is too stupid, unfortunately. Fortunately for all of us, John
not
Jr.
too
is
stupid to win the nomination.
Sure, yeah. Actually, yes. People say like, "Oh, Donald Trump is so stupid." I have to tell you, like, if the intelligence here, we'll do it within the screen. If JD is the smartest of them, and like Donald Trump is down here, okay, and then where would you put Marjorie? Like a little above Donald,
Oh, I wouldn't go that far now.
A little below. Okay, Marjorie's down here below Donald. Don Trump Jr. is like below the earth. Donald Trump Jr. can barely write a sentence. Okay, he doesn't have it. He doesn't have it.
All right, Sarah.
That's why he put JD in there.
Yeah.
Tell me, where do you think this goes?
So it's funny you mentioned Megyn Kelly, because I would put her in the bucket of people that could run in 2028. I do think on the right, part of this crack up and part of the dominance of their influence culture has strong benefits and really benefited Trump. But it also means that they're going to start, I think, pulling more candidates, because Republicans do not like regular politicians. Their voters do not like regular politicians. And so it would not surprise me at all to see people like Megyn Kelly running. It certainly wouldn't surprise me to see Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tucker Carlson running, maybe even together. I think that you are going to wind up with a situation where J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio end up being like the median normie Republican ticket relative to the other people who come into the field. And there's sort of the bad news of that is that J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio might be made to look much more civilized and normal by comparison, and might make them look more moderate. The other option, though, is that actually it really does tear the party apart.
We have I think an expert on the matter has weighed in on Truth Social. Yeah. The president of the United States. Trump, speaking of himself in the third person, and all caps, Trump wasn't on the ballot, and shutdown, were the two reasons that Republicans lost elections tonight, according to unnamed pollsters. That's what Donald Trump had to say, the president of the United States.
The way to rectify that is to put Trump back on the ballot.
It's one way to think about it. But the shutdown part is interesting because, it's hard to over analyze.
The filibuster tomorrow,
kind of like two lightning bugs going back and forth inside a jar that is Donald Trump's brain, and what he means by and shutdown were the two reasons. But one way to interpret that is an acknowledgement that like the shutdown isn't helping them.
Yeah.
And to me, if I'm Donald Trump, well, so here's my big hot take prediction. I don't like being in the prediction business, but here's my hot take prediction. He starts to turn the screws on this filibuster.
Yeah. Oh no, I think so. He's got a meeting tomorrow. He's got a
jamming
breakfast tomorrow. I think the answer is that he kills the filibuster. And you know what? I'm okay with that because it means we finally get DC to be a state. Can we move
I
on?
bet Sarah's an exciting news.
I actually
Sarah might
I
have
wondered
changed
if
her position on
JVL
the
saw me
filibuster
say
today.
this, and I imagined him throwing furniture around the room at the idea that after years of him trying to talk me into nuking the filibuster, what it took was one morning shots
Andrew
Andrew Egger, and I'm suddenly like, he's making a great point there, young Egger.
Remember the GIF with the guy and the girls, and the one dude's like, "What?" Like that's JVL trying to talk Sarah into undoing the filibuster. Egger saying, "Hey, we should kill the filibuster," and Sarah going,
I don't know if people read his morning shots. He made an incredibly interesting point that,
well, you keep real tight tabs on morning shots, don't you? Never miss an edition.
Here's the thing: you got to balance the conservative instincts that I have. Which the thing about the filibuster, right, was that it is supposed to engender compromise, and I think we can all see that that is no longer working. But the point that he made that I hadn't quite thought of was that the filibuster, by rendering Congress essentially completely dysfunctional, has allowed the executive to consolidate so much power. And so my competing conservative instinct, which is very against executive power and really believes in checks and balances, is persuaded by the idea that for Congress to function and take back power from the executive branch, it can no longer operate this way. I will also say one thing that has shifted for me, just generally, is like the idea that they're going to compromise, right? That they like it's not like that anymore. Like it has gone well past it, and also people sort of need, like, we don't want Democrats to protect Republicans from themselves, right? Like you sort of have to be like, okay, you wanted these policies, like get these policies, you voted for them.
Can't wait for Andrew Egger to write the case for expanding the Supreme Court and Sarah to be like, wow, you know what? I feel like he's turned me around. Yeah, I guess.
I don't think he's going to get me on that
assignment.
one.
That's an
I was always a little wishy on the filibuster.
That is not
I was
true.
open.
We have had so many fights
but I was open
over
to
the filibuster.
reforming it as opposed to nuking it.
I want to talk about Sandwich Man because that's the happiest thing we have going for us. But first, very quickly, my girl, Marjorie Taylor Greene on The View today, just tearing into Mike Johnson and John Thune and all of the worst Republican men in Congress. I'm sorry. Are you guys on the bandwagon with me yet?
Bet with you. Never.
I can't wait for her to come on the show. I'm trying to get her on the show. I hope to talk to her. And I don't
That's what I want.
I don't need to play your two little game. I don't need to be part of a morality play. Marjorie Taylor Greene and I are not ever going to be pals. She is making some coherent arguments against Donald Trump from a place of vulnerability, and what she is saying is true. Whether she's saying it because of some desire for attention or for because some psychosis, she's out of a psychotic
break, try to run
or
in
because she has a
2028.
bad faith, or because she's. I don't know. This is going on The View is not the path to do that, or if she thinks it is. I don't care what her motivations are. Frankly, her points are apt, and I think it's noteworthy that every time someone frees themselves from the shackles of the Trump cult and they're able to speak freely about what is happening in the real world, they speak about the truth, and I appreciate that Marjorie Taylor Greene is doing that now.
All right. Sandwich Man. Guys,
he crushed that cop. That cop's reeked like onions.
I don't know if you guys know this,
mustard.
But we are heading to a third day of this trial for a misdemeanor. We have a jury trial for a misdemeanor.
Yeah. I was thinking back to my various minor impossessions of alcohol, and the time I didn't do the traffic court training, and I didn't show up to the class I needed to take for my various speeding tickets back when I was a wayward youth. I had several misdemeanors. I don't recall ever having a jury trial. That seems unusual.
I would like to read you guys some reporting from inside the courthouse by Molly Roberts. Are you ready?
Please. Yeah.
I'm just reading Molly here. This is her voice, not mine. The officer sandwich guy is charged with assaulting testifies that he could feel the impact of the sandwich through his ballistic vest and it, quote, exploded all over my uniform. He says he could, quote, smell the onions and the mustard. Following this, the defense brought the video up and pointed out that the sandwich was still covered in paper, had no mustard emerging from it, no way to tell what condiments were on it because it was completely wrapped in paper. In fact, that sandwich hasn't exploded at all, has it? The defense. The government's next witness, Metro Transit Police Department Detective Diana Henry, describes the sandwich throw as like a baseball pitch. And hand to God, the defense attorney referred to the police officer as a seasoned cop. These are all real things happening in a court of law in Donald Trump's America. We're spending 3 days trying to hang a misdemeanor conviction on a guy who threw a sandwich that an alpha male war fighter with probably 5 Punisher tattoos felt all the way through his ballistic vest, like the princess on the mattress with the pee in it.
Sandwich guy's defense that the cop looked hungry.
I mean, I haven't been in the...
He looked hungry. I was trying to give him a sandwich.
We need to update, I feel like, the ballistic vests. I'm pretty concerned if he could feel a thundering shake from the Subway sub. I mean, what would happen if it was a paintball? What would happen if it was... I wonder what would happen if it was more of a hard crust. Like
a baguette.
Like a French bread. Like
a full baguette could have lanced right through it like a sabot round.
Guys,
Sarah,
should we do it? Should we let's run through. I know for the
give me 30 seconds on Sandwich Guy before we go back to do election recap.
Okay.
Come on.
Okay, what more do you got?
I don't have 30 seconds on the Sandwich Guy. He's good. I'm glad it looks like he won't be convicted. Solidarity with Sandwich Guy. Actually, don't throw things at cops, but also don't be babies, guys. I would like to come back because I'm in a good mood about the election, and I would like to talk about that. And I want to hit a couple.
Yeah, are you price lining for flights right now because Spanberger is up to 56.9% of the vote?
No, but tell me what Cheryl's at. Like, I think
Cheryl is up by 13 points with 86% of the votes in. Baby, you might as well just get the travel agent going.
Oh yeah, no, you're going to Vegas.
Travel agent.
That is amazing. Here's some other races though that we haven't talked about that I'd just like to throw in there because the Democrats are winning absolutely everywhere in absolutely every context, including there was a big Supreme Court race in Pennsylvania where they needed to have. There were 3 Democrats who were up to be either, forget the term, but it was like either kept, retained, I believe is what they call it. They were all retained. And this may sound like a small thing to people, but the Supreme Court in Pennsylvania in the middle of a contested election is actually going to matter quite a bit. And so that was a big race. It's interesting that Governor Shapiro was all over this. You know who wasn't anywhere to be heard from in Pennsylvania? John Fetterman was not there. There was also a couple of like low levels.
He was busy defending Trump's ballroom.
He was. Yeah, that's great.
On the Lara Trump show.
Heck, yeah.
Over on Rumble.
Great stuff from that guy.
Future of the Democratic Party, John Fetterman.
Yeah. I would love to go replay some JVL from when Fetterman was running
50% of the time, I'm right 100% of the time.
Also in Georgia, there were some down ballot seats. I can't remember for exactly what, but no Democrat has ever won them. There were 2 Democrats that won in Georgia, which I think, even though it's just a little thing, is probably going to make John Ossoff happy to see that.
Was the Public Service Commissioner. Very important role. We appreciate your service.
They have never won. They have never won. And obviously, Mamdani, I don't know if we have new numbers on Mamdani, if he is
50%.
He's hovering right
do
at
we
50.
think that's an
Yeah.
underperformance from him?
It's a slightly underperformance of the polls, but he's the first Democratic, or his first mayor of any kind to get 1 million votes in New York since John Lindsay, who ran on the unbelievable slogan. Can I pull this from my memory? He is. I can't. I'm gonna pull it up though because I loved it so much. Go ahead, you guys keep talking.
But I think I would like to see from you two a little more, like just downright glowing enthusiasm for what we're seeing tonight.
Yeah, I can't do that, but he is fresh and everyone else is tired. Was the John Lindsay slogan, and amen to that. Because count me in the tired portion. Look, here's the thing. I want to talk about the redistricting stuff. I'm happy. I'm happy. Everybody's happy. I can't fake it. Okay, I am who I am. You're gonna get my honest views. Donald Trump is still the president for like 3 more years, and I have trauma. I have election night trauma. I have trauma from last year. Hearing the music on NBC gives me trauma. Going to the fucking Needle page gives me trauma. Talking about it gives me trauma. And I might not ever recover. I don't know. I might not ever be able to have a happy election night again. And that's me because I have Trump derangement syndrome. That said, it was objectively good. And I think that the best news is probably just brought it to next year's midterms. And anything can happen in the next year, obviously. But the redistricting thing, assuming that Prop 50 passes in a landslide, which I think it's going to, the Virginia as of now, and this could change, is I think the Dems have picked up like 11 seats already. So she's going to have the biggest majority. It's a trifecta. The delegates, the Senate, and the governor's race is going to be the biggest one since like 1985 or 89, back when the Democrats included like Dixiecrats still in the party. So like it's a massive, and so they will jam through a redistricting for sure, as you mentioned earlier, Sarah. So if you look at those maps, that's probably 3 seats more. 5 in California, that's 8. It makes it a lot hard. I mean, the Republicans could probably still squeeze out a situation where they end up, figuring out 12 or something, 13, but that makes their margin way thinner. And if you kind of project out the type of win that Cheryl and Spanberger had of over a dozen, when it's all said and done, Spanberger is going to be at 14 really. That projects out to a pretty strong Democratic wave next year.
Yeah.
And a strong enough wave, and this is where I was going to go. Trump, it's notable that Trump we were making fun of his bleed earlier about how they lost because Trump wasn't on the ballot. But had these races been close, Trump was laying the groundwork to say cheated, stolen. And this is like the reality that we're in now in this country, where like the Democrats don't have to just win, they have to win big. Because if they win big, then all the Republicans are like, well, there was some cheating, grumble. Let's talk about the caravan tomorrow. But if the Democrats win narrowly, they try to stop the steal, right, and steal the election. And to me, the big concern about next year and the midterms and all the redistricting stuff is, like, if the Democrats eke out a win, then we're staring down the barrel of 2021 insurrection all over again, right? Like where Republicans try not to seat the Democrats, where there's a lot of shenanigans. If between California and Virginia and now Maryland, Wes Moore, I should shout out Wes Moore, stepped up today and said he's finally going to get off his ass and redistrict Maryland. That's another seat. If the Democrats can get themselves in a position between the redistricting and the wave where they end up winning by 15, 20 seats next year, then like they can do all they want with the mail-in ballot fraud or whatever, and it won't matter. And to me, that will be something that will give me joy, genuine joy. And we're on a trajectory to that tonight with the results. And I think that's actually more important than any specific race.
Just talk like Democrats really needed this. I think the level of helplessness and hopelessness that's sort of been dragging on people since Trump won, like Tim's talking about his trauma. Everybody felt that way, right? There's a real sense of, can we get this back? Are we doomed? And I do want to push into something that I try to reassure people about. As mad as people get at the voters, like so many people, yes, JVL, I'm looking at you. That's a hard subtweet of you. Okay. In a lot of these ways, right? I do think we are probably trapped in some cycles of change elections here because people are increasingly dissatisfied with the state of things. But I think that people should just remember that there's a lot of swing in these voters, that it does not mean that all the trajectory heads one way. And I think people should be excited about the midterms and should be focused on, if you get these kinds of numbers, can you win in Ohio with Sherrod Brown? Like, does the Senate come back into play? And so some offense, I think everybody's been back on their heels. And I'd like people to find a little bit of that offense mentality now that says there are things we can do about this. Like, you can, and if you blow Trump out in 26, if you blow the Republicans out in 26, you get a bunch of things. Not only do you change, I think, a real trajectory of the country going into 2028, but more importantly, you get oversight. The one thing that Donald Trump doesn't want in his last 2 years, because all this crypto scam money and all the pardons that Trump doesn't even know who he's pardoning, all this stuff, like, start looking at that stuff. And that's what Dems are going to do when they come in. And I'm here for it.
Guys, today's the first
I got
day.
this message here in the comments from Selenos. It says, we all have trauma, Tim, but however, none of us have the luxury of crawling back into bed and hiding under the covers. I don't know. Some of you guys might.
He's here.
I got a fucking podcast tomorrow, but if you can crawl under the covers, you should crawl. Enjoy the covers, baby. I could use that. I heard that election night music and I was like, where are the covers? Where are my gummies? Where are my soul gummies? I need the elevated dose, the Longwell.
A little bit like your whole, like, everything's terrible, it can never get better, we're doomed. Like, is any part of you?
I started the whole show by saying this is a really big deal. I wrote this newsletter today.
No,
I know
you're probably
reading Andrews for the fourth time. But I was like, today's the day the resistance strikes back. I know the last.
I
word,
know.
What is the last? The last.
JVL, you aren't happy enough. Smile, JVL.
We are unlikely to know the result for sure tonight, but this is the one where America strikes back against Trumpism. That's how I ended my newsletter. So yes, of course.
I know, but you write every day, and sometimes you take all the positions. And so let's admit that the preponderance.
How do you write every day without taking all the positions?
I know. But here's the thing: the preponderance of your positions tend to careen into the, like, slough of despond over the state of things, which I understand.
Yeah, well, things are pretty bad.
Of course they are, but they're not so bad. They're not so bad that we can't do something about it.
Do you have any liquor in your house? Do you have a single drop of hard liquor in that house, that old house?
I actually don't think we do.
Sarah wants you taking a shot of Fireball right now. Can somebody in New York City
Fireball?
bring JVL? Can go to a bodega?
Sorority girl?
Yeah, she wants you to be as happy as a 20-year-old sorority girl on Fireball after these wins tonight. That's what Sarah wants. Abigail Spanberger, Mikey Sherrill, Zohran. We have a communist running New York now. Things are great. It's exactly what everybody wants.
Say, the only silver lining for.
Okay, don't ruin it, Sarah. Just keep it as an inside thought.
Guys, good show. Unbelievably long show. We're never doing this thing live again. But it was a good night. And I'm glad we could all be together for it. I'll say this with a happy tone in my voice. Good luck, America.
Happier. Try again.